Okay, so this is just about 15 seconds. Hello and welcome to South Sligo Talks, a community-based podcast bringing you local news and stories from the heart of South Sligo, recorded here in the podcast studios in Uncree in Tubbercurry. I'm Richard McCarthy, and this week we'll be talking about town twinning with our guests Michael Coleman and Derek Sherlock. Thanks a million for joining us, guys. Guys, I'm going to start with town twinning. What is the town twinning and when did it start?
So the town twinning is a relationship that you enter into with another town, possibly of similar size, like our own. So a number of years ago, so in 1997, I was in the Chamber of Commerce and it was mooted that maybe Tubbercurry would twin with another town. So we went looking for another town and we looked at Northern Ireland and we looked at various places. And then kind of by chance, like Irish people who are abroad, they tend to find people and things happen. So it's actually a sister of Roger McCarrick's.
Oh, very good.
The town here. So she was living in France and she was very good friends with a lady called Eilish Drew is her name, and she was very good friends with another lady who is the sister of the partner of the Dominique Nocturne. So I say Dominique Nocturne because Dominique Nocturne really is the twinning. She's the driving force. She is a French lady. She's a formidable lady. She's a school teacher.
Very good.
And so it just happened that we then had both Dominique and another lady called Aude Missenard. They came over to Ireland to meet us. And actually, there's a funny story about that evening because they were to meet Roger and myself, Roger McCarrick and myself, and at about 9:30 or 9:45, we decided, we better go and find out who these girls are. So we went up to Gorman's on the corner and said, hello, is it Dominique and Aude? Are they staying here? And the girls were in their pajamas. So they got dressed and came out and we went down to Murphy's and we had a drink and a chat about the possibility of entering into a twinning. So that's really kind of the start of it. It wasn't until then, 1999, that we would have had our first twinning meeting. Where there were a couple of excursions in the meantime. So Derek and myself and 5 others, Roger and Patricia, his wife, and my wife, and a couple of other people. We went over and we spent a weekend over in Viarmes and met a number of people over there. And the same then, there would have been excursions from the twinning group over there that were trying to organise the twinning. Mm-hmm. And they had meetings over here. So we had exchanges. And then eventually in 1999, we had our first major twinning, which was us, I'd say close on 100 people going over to Viarmes and having our first weekend.
And is there like a requirement? Like, does it have to be matching populations or what's the...
So it's not actually. So there would be maybe 5,000 or 6,000 in Viarmes at the time when we were looking at it. And we were about 1,000. So it was, but it was a small town. And for them, I suppose a town of 5,000 might be similar to, for us, a town of 1,000. So yeah. It's the same. It's a similar arrangement. Yeah.
So it's kind of like pen pals. It's kind of like you're similar in not in size, but in the kind of the makeup of the town itself.
Yeah.
And the kind of the same practicalities that are in each town. That's how they will kind of match up, or is it based on kind of the tourism side that, to encourage, we'll say, people from Viarmes to come to Tubbercurry and us to go to Viarmes? Or
so there might be tourism and there might indeed be economic benefits, but they're not the idea behind twinning. The idea behind twinning is the notion of exchanging your culture, of sharing, of our learning other cultures, our exposing our children to other cultures. So it's more along those lines rather than anything financial or touristic, or even though people at times would say, oh, look, that'd be great for. And we say, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. But as long as it's doing the other as well. Yeah.
Because you'd see it kind of as you're driving through Ireland, you'd see the signs nearly in every village kind of twinned with such a town in a different country. Is it that it's only to one town that they can be twinned with, or can it be more than one town? Like, can you kind of have an Italian town twinned with an Irish town as well? Or
So actually, we're having our 20th anniversary of our twinning. We're celebrating it 3 years late because of COVID.
Yeah.
But there are 4 towns. There will be 4 towns here this weekend. So we've got ourselves and Viarmes, which is the town that we're twinned with.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a sister town called Agnières-sur-Oise, literally down the road from them. And that town is twinned with an Italian town.
Okay.
So a number of years ago, I think it was 2011, looking back on the history there, the European Union encouraged us to have friendship pacts between other countries. And they wanted, rather than just 2 countries always meeting, to have 3, 4, 5 and 6 countries meeting.
Yeah, which is really good. I see the concept now in that it's like-minded people meeting kind of from different backgrounds, different nationalities and a whole lot, kind of sharing their cultures with each other, which is fantastic. It's a great idea.
That's exactly it.
We'll say, like you said, who was involved in organising the twinning itself?
So in both towns there's twinning committees.
Okay.
So I'm the president of the twinning committee in Tubber. Derek is the vice president, sometimes the president. And then we have a committee. So over the years, for many years, there was just 4 of us. So there was Maeve Walsh, who sadly has passed away, and there was Margaret Rochford.
Helen.
Yeah. So
Teresa Cawley.
Teresa Cawley, yeah.
And now there are a number of other people. So my wife Katrina. There's a Seamus and Nuala Malani. We have Mark Dunn, and we have Marion Marin. So there's a fair group.
Quite James E. Walsh.
James E. Walsh.
James E. Walsh and Kieran Lundy. So we all kind of have our own little jobs in the committee. You know, like Jamesy, for instance, would look after the logistics this weekend of getting Italians from Dublin Airport to Tubbercurry today, organising the buses, booking them, getting quotations for coaches, all of that sort of thing. Kieran Lundy, for instance, would look after anything to do with the concert or music or entertainment or dancing or, he looks after that. Michael looks after the application, and Katrina for European Union funding and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I don't know what I do, but anyway, I'm there anyway.
He does everything else.
Everything.
So,
jack of all trades.
Viarmes is like, I think, a satellite town of Paris, really. It's about 45 minutes north of Paris. It's midway, roughly, between Paris and Beauvais airports. So it's quite well located for an Irish group going there. Like you're not spending hours and hours and hours getting there. Once we arrive at the airport, we're in Viarmes in less than an hour, or approximately an hour.
Yeah.
It's near Paris, so the young people, when we have the student exchanges from Tubbercurry go over, they can go to Sherwood Park, which is kind of the same as Euro Disney.
Very good.
They can visit Euro Disney, visit Paris, of course, all of those. So it's very well located, but it's there's a lot more, I think, probably industry or commerce is there around Tubbercurry, I think, and they were quite impressed with that in the early days when they came and they visited Connacht Gold in a Connery. They were making the butter there that time, and the garlic butter and so on. Yeah. And then, the jobs that were around here, whereas the Viarmes is a sleepy, there's 4,500 people, I think, approximately in it, but there's no one on the streets at 8 o'clock. It's just in and out of Paris, but it has lovely forests and lakes and all sorts of things,
Pretty good. And I suppose Derek, when did you kind of come into the whole town twinning thing? What would have brought you into the town twinning?
Well, I remember a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and this would have been probably just after Michael and Roger met Dominique and Aude, who were staying in the guest house, Mrs. O'Gorman's guest house, just on the corner here. And there was a Chamber of Commerce meeting sometime after that. I was at the meeting. It was discussed, that Tubbercurry may twin with Viarmes, or it was a possibility. And there was we were all asked, would you be interested in going on a delegation to Viarmes to have a look, to have a look around and talk to the people. And I remember putting up my hand. I said, yes, that's the thing I'd be interested in. So we went off in January 98, 5 of us, and that's it. We're there since.
And like, as you said, that when you were talking about, there's quite a lot of logistics into organising the twinning and organising kind of the groups to come over to Ireland, and likewise for you guys to go over to France as well.
I was making up now, just doing a little bit of homework, preparing for this, that there has been at least, and I know I have left out some, at least 105 exchanges between, we'll say, families, students, sports clubs, walking group, at least 105. There would be a little bit more than that. I'm sure I left out a few in all of that at a time. So there's kind of something going on most of the time. If you average that, there's 5 or 6 exchanges a year.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great to see. Like, and I think it's. I travelled when I was young, and it's the whole concept of we are a little island on the edge of Europe. It is great to kind of people to go and see other cultures and see there's a lot more to Ireland. A lot more to see out in the world, and by having these opportunities to go to France and to other countries, it opens the mind, which is fantastic.
We have had, we'd say, just a few notes I took here. We have had 12 student exchanges that I can think of. In Moylock School, Holy Family, Castle Rock, over vice versa, the colleges, they call them in France, come in here. There was at least 12 of them. We had 3 music exchanges, the tennis club from Sligo, for instance. There was 5 or 6 probably at least sports exchanges. Real Tubber went over a couple of times. There was an international tournament in France with teams from Portugal, France. Where else, Michael? Italy. And there was now Real Tubber played their best. They came last, but they competed.
But it's good to see.
Then we had a few work experience, young people that might be doing an apprenticeship. One lad, he was in France. He was training to be a motor mechanic. And I'm not sure whether it was Mulkeen's he came to or not. Where did he come to, Michael? He came to somewhere for 3 weeks, on an exchange. Then there was Kieran Lundy's daughter, for instance. I'm not sure what she was doing. It could be something to do with music, but she spent 3 months living in Dominique's house on what Dominique could call an internship, But we have had, and then the walking group exchanges. There's a group in France called the Friends of Nature.
Yeah.
So right from the get-go in 2001, just after we twinned officially, a group from France came to Tubbercurry, maybe 20, 25 people. Sometimes they'd stay in host families, and other times they'd stay in local hotels or B&Bs. And we'd spend maybe 6 or 7 days walking around Tubbercurry, Kilmactygue, all around Tubbercurry. Then we'd go to France the following year, maybe a group of 20 to 25, and we'd do different walks all around Viarmes, have picnics, a day trip to Paris, a guided walk in Paris, they were kind of really the highlight of, they were a big thing in it. There was at least 12 of those exchanges in the 20 years, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And then there was a few years just after the economic crash in 2009, there was kind of 3 years. I remember one, they had it all organised in France, and then when we were talking to people here about going, they changed their minds, so we just had to cancel it. So we kind of let it go asleep for about 3 years.
Yeah.
But now it's the walking exchanges are up and going again,
Yeah.
So we have visited the Giant's Causeway, Belfast, the Titanic, Glenveigh, Forest Park,
Yeah.
Slieve League, Inishmore, Inisheer, the Burren, you name it.
Yeah, and there is like quite a kind of strong, we say, connection in Tubbercurry with French connection. Like even from talking to Pierre and Teresa, numerous times they'd be mentioning about this group of French people that are coming over to fish, or they're coming to experience kind of, and they'd be doing activities like the walks and the climbing the mountains and stuff like that. And it's such kind of an outdoor kind of people as well.
we even had a few people from Tubbercurry went over to Viarmes with the gun club, the Tubbercurry Gun Club, and they went over shooting wild boar, because there's no wild boar in Ireland. So this was a real, excitement and challenge and nice, a nice thing to do. So
tell us about the agenda for the week, Michael.
Great. As I say, there's 15 Italians arriving today, and then tomorrow there's 55, 57 French people arriving. So it's going to be a busy few days. On Friday, we're going to head off to Aughras Head, and we're going to meet a lady there who's going to give us a talk on seaweeds and using seaweeds for eating, for food, and various things that can be made. Her name is Pranny Rattigan. She's written a number of books, and she's
quite known on the Sligo food trail and everything as well. So
she certainly is. After that, then we're going to do a loop walk of the coast for about an hour, and then back to Aughras to the
beach bar.
Yeah.
And we'll have lunch there, and then in the afternoon the plan was to go to the Foxford Woolen Mills. Unfortunately, Ballina is in between.
Yes, a certain Mr. Biden is taking over Ballina for the weekend.
So we have explained to the French that we laid on Mr. Biden for the trip, but that he just couldn't make Aughras.
Unfortunately. Busy
so,
man.
So we may have to change that, because at the moment I don't think we're going to be able to get past Ballina.
Yeah.
On Saturday morning, then we have the seminar, which kind of is the theme of the weekend. So it's a talk about the improving the integration of migrants in our communities. So it's very topical. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when we applied for funding to the European Union 3 or 4 years ago, it was the 20th anniversary of the Charter of Human Rights, European Charter of Human Rights, and that coincided with the 20th anniversary of our twinning. So we decided to take that as a topic, and so there'll be a speaker from each of the countries. So there'll be an Italian speaker, a French speaker. There's a migrant living here in Tubber who won't be able to speak, but she's written a piece, and there's an Irish speaker. And then we have Maria Walsh, who's a member of European Parliament.
I know Maria very well.
And Maria is guest speaker at 12 noon.
Fantastic. And where is this happening?
It's in Chockliney. In the library.
Very good.
Yeah. So looking forward to
I know Maria from her Rose Tralee days, because I used to photograph for the Rose Tralee, and
great.
I remember photographing Maria. And I would say the one thing you touched on it there, just that there's a lot of people coming. How have you been able to kind of accommodate everybody? Like, where is everybody, being hosted and such?
So both hotels are full. So we've got Murphy's, and then there's 15 in Murphy's, and there's 25 in Cawley's.
Very good.
And then the rest are in host families.
Very good. Yeah. So, and that's a great thing to see. Like, was a community have come on board, and I always kind of say when families host other families, there's always this kind of culture thing that comes in, and they learn so much from each other. Yeah. I think especially when they're in people's homes as well. So it's kind of nice to see that the community have come on board, It's
nearly always in host families. This is the first time that we had that many of that size of a group staying in hotels, or, they're nearly always in host families. And when we go to Viarmes, it's pretty... If there goes 50, there'll be 45 of them in the host families. If there was 80, there's probably 75 of them in host families, and you get to know people very well, and you can build great relationships with them, and maybe do private exchanges, maybe with 2 children from that family going over, like Michael's children did internships or whatever. I don't know that's what Dominique calls them in Sherwood Park. Isn't that right? When stayed with Dominique, spent 3 weeks in Sherwood Park, which is similar to
Longford Forest.
Sort of thing. And we have had a good bit of that. So.
Yeah. And I think Pierre and Teresa are like a host family. They're it's not a normal hotel. It's a hotel that literally evolves around kind of culture, and they love talking to people and the whole lot, and they're great kind of to chat to as well. I suppose you touched on the funding. Was the funding you received funding for the twinning project, but is it quite hard to get funding for these type of projects?
it's extremely difficult. This is the second time in 20 years that we succeeded in getting funding. So we would have had the big groups would only come every 5 years for the anniversaries, if you like. More often it would be 20, 30 people that would do the exchanges. So it just takes so long to try and organize the funding. And so this time we had an opportunity of revising the funding. So we applied for it. Actually, we're a couple of points under par. But we were able to have a second bite at the cherry then and reapplied a few months later with some guidance from how we had not had enough for the first time when we applied.
Yeah.
But the funding is not taken for granted. So you're offered funding. You then have to fulfill a serious amount of. So the idea of the twinning from a European Union point of view is to try and encourage social interaction, and they would be quite happy for communities to discuss a topic like this, like the integration of migrants.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, the global migrant crisis, is a major problem for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah.
So to get thoughts, to get ideas, to get communities involved in thinking about it, is really important for the European Union, for people thinking together, for solidarity, for. So it's something that the European Union are doing to try and improve societies, integrated societies coming together and doing the right thing for people who don't have.
Because like we say, in France they have the same issues that we have. In all the countries that are visiting, it's very similar, and everybody deals with it differently. So it's great to see kind of great minds coming together and exchanging ideas as well. It makes a big difference in regards to a topic like that, and it's something that, from the point of European funding and stuff like that, I think it's well earned. And it's I think when people hear about the twinning, they think, oh, these are coming over on holidays. It's like an Airbnb kind of on steroids, but it's not. It's about the sharing the culture. It's about people seeing that we aren't just on our own here in Ireland, that there is other cultures that are dealing with the same issues we have, and they might have dealt with it a bit better, or they might have dealt with it, a different way. And it might work here. So it's good to see, and it's I have to say it's fantastic that you've gotten so many to come over for the anniversary and everything as well.
Well, just on the European Union there, I'm not sure, was it 2009, Michael, that we were over on celebrating probably the 10th anniversary. I'm not exactly sure, was it 2009 or maybe it was before, but the European Union sent a film crew from Brussels to film all of the Irish people and the French people from once we arrived in Beauvais Airport to get off the plane. Everything was filmed the complete weekend until we got back on again, because the European Union were so impressed with how this particular Viarmes Tubbercurry twinning was conducted, that it was based on a lot of like just what you're after saying, friendship and people together and talking and dancing and singing, and concerts and that. Whereas I think some of that film then was shown throughout Europe as an example. It was held up as an example of how they thought that twinning should be conducted. Yeah. Instead of, we'll say, a town, for instance, from any country in Europe twinned with another town or a city, and that it might be kind of too business-like, that it's nearly like a business meeting, and you stay in the hotel. And you stay in the hotel, and you have a twinning meeting in the morning, and you have a bit of a discussion and a seminar, and you say goodbye,
So that's quite good. Do you see kind of it going outside of Europe, for example? Like, do you see maybe the States or Asia or like, it'd be nice to kind of see, because like we do get quite a lot of kind of... Right. I keep taking on things. I need to kind of be careful here. I'm digging myself into a hole here. But it's just something that I see it as a very valuable project. And I see it as something that, over time can grow. Like we are, like I said, a small island on the edge of Europe, but we have Irish everywhere in the world. There's connections everywhere in the world. It'd be great to see it that it travel outside Europe.
I'm happy where we are with Viarmes, and if we have 105 exchanges at least in 20 years, it's quite good. There's constantly something going on, and I don't know what about Michael. I couldn't.
Yeah. It's more kind of a case of that I can see it kind of being, like you said, an example to other
It
towns
started
too.
with Tubbercurry, Viarmes. Now there's a little hamlet beside Viarmes called Agnier-sur-Oise. Tiny little place, just a half a mile down the edge of the forest. And they're twinned with Cutigliano near Florence, way up in the mountains. So they have joined. They're here this weekend. So the 4 towns now have a friendship pact. But
Fantastic.
I think we'd be out of puff if we had any more.
If we were brought anyone on.
So there was a suggestion. People said, "Why don't we twin with Cutigliano?" Because people said, "God, it'd be great to go to Italy.
Yeah.
Italy is lovely as well." But just the logistics, the work involved. I mean,
We have been to Italy, and
it's all voluntary.
fabulous,
So you if you spread yourself too thin, you wear out. You just disappear.
I know what you mean.
So now in Viarmes, there, I think just very recently they had a St. Patrick's Day parade.
Very good.
And something in Agnier, you know.
Very good.
And a market. They had a market there in the last couple of years, or a few times recently. A farmer's day or an Irish market where there'd be Dominique would bring, when she'd be here, she'd bring a suitcase full of Barry's tea bags from Services or Murphy's or a few from each, you know, bottles of Smithwick's or Guinness and, you know, just selling Irish products. And she'd have, I think she's nearly more Irish than French, you know, really, isn't she?
If she is.
Do you see kind of from the perspective of, I always kind of take it back to the tourism side, but more to do with the exchanging of kind of cultures. You know, when I used to go on holidays, you know, you travel for the sun and the sea and the beach and the whole lot. Whereas I now have 2 daughters and they now look for culture. They look for experience. They don't want to go to sitting by a hotel pool. They want to go experience life in a different country. Do you see that kind of becoming a thing generating from the twinning? That was you know, if we get more people from Tubbercurry to get involved in town twinning, that they can see here's a village very like ours or a town like ours.
What we have done in the past, we have visited wineries in San Cyr, go on a coach trip, visit a winery, you know, taste the wine. We'd be told what food it would suit with. We have been on farms where they milk goats and make cheese. We have been at the Roquefort cheese, you know, a lot of those sort of things. A duck farm, you know, where they breed ducks and they have the down for quilts and so on, and the flesh for meat, and you know, we have done a fair bit of that sort of thing, you know,
Very
just not kind of what you'd call normal life.
Yeah, exactly.
Normal, you know.
Which is good.
There's also the language part. So you've got 2 different cultures, but 2 different languages. And so you have people who like languages and people who don't like languages. So in our family, we like languages. So we would have had 2 French families staying with us. And at the beginning of the weekend, we would have said, look, we're going to speak in French all the time because we want to learn our French. And they would have said, well, look, we're going to speak in English all the time. And that's exactly what we did. We spoke in French. They answered us in English. And we corrected their French. We corrected their English, and they corrected our French.
Very good.
So it worked out well.
It's quite good to see. And you touched on volunteers and the whole lot. We'll say, how many, like, are there many volunteers involved, or how many would you have outside of, say, the committee itself?
So
There's not really anybody outside, is there?
But we call on people to help with various things.
The host families is probably one of the most important things from the very beginning, because as I said earlier on, this is the first time that so many stayed in hotels or you know, before every exchange. It's always host families, and they're probably the most important thing to keep the thing together, because it's not everyone that wants to come to stay in a hotel. Number one, I wouldn't probably want to go to Viarmes and stay in a hotel, because you don't meet anybody, exactly. Only the reception, whoever is on reception. But the host families, then it keeps the costs down, you know, as well, and their children have a chance to, you know, the host family is probably the backbone of the whole thing.
Very good.
Yeah, really. Yeah, wouldn't you agree?
I would, but I'd contradict you in that we do have a lot of people helping out. So, for example, even though they might, so Eileen Murtha over the years, has been a great help with transport.
Yeah.
Don Duran down in the hotel in Curry has been fantastic with organising food for us to have picnics or to have this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cawley's, Garage Surlis has been a huge support from SuperValue. Paul Murphy has been a past president of the Chamber of Commerce. He's been over in Viarmes with us. Shane Mulkeen has been a past chairperson, past president of the Chamber, and he's been over in France as well. A lot of.
We do call on different people for different, like Brian Cahill, maybe for photography. I can't just think.
Benny Henry for the lights in the hall.
Yeah.
There's loads of people that at the drop of a hand they come and they help. They really are great.
From the community perspective, what can the community do to help with the town twinning? Is the seminar on the Saturday, is it open to the public, or?
The actual accommodation is quite small in where we are in Chockliney, so we decided not to open it. But there's a concert on the Sunday night, which I let people know now that it's open to the public.
And where's that on?
It's on in St. Bridget's Hall.
St. Bridget's Hall. It's
been organised by Kieran Lundy, and it's starting at 7:30.
Very good.
But it'll be an early night because the Italians are up at 5 the following morning to get their plane back.
We might have bad weather by then. They might be able to, they might have to stay a little longer.
Sure.
If anybody then round town hears that there's an exchange coming up, there's no problem to contact any member of the committee, and they're more than welcome to join us to go to Viarmes, to do whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
It'll be walking or whatever
Very good. And is there anywhere online where people can find out more about the twinning?
I'd love to tell you Facebook, but I'm absolutely useless at Facebook, so I don't know. But I believe there's
Very good.
A Facebook page that doesn't really
get updated.
Yeah. Wow. It's look, we want to meet people. We want to kind of see them in person. So we'll kind of, the social side of online and stuff like that can be a deterrent more than actually a help. So it's good to hear kind of when people are actually coming to Tubbercurry, which is great. I am trying to think of any other questions I have for you, but I think we've covered pretty much everything. So thanks a million, guys, for coming in. Is there anything you want to to let people know about?
Just that, really, the concert on Sunday night in St. Bridget's Hall, that there should be seats.
Great. And is there plans to...
Everybody will be at Mass on Sunday morning.
On Sunday morning?
Yeah. 76.
Father Sherlock could be very happy with that.
76 visitors plus...
So we're going to
host families.
We're going to plant a tree in memory of people who have passed, friends of the twinning that have passed.
Lovely. Where are you planting the tree?
In the grounds of the church.
Very good.
Immediately after a 11:30 Mass.
A Crataegus Paul Scarlet.
I presume that's the tree.
That's the tree.
Very good. And have you any plans to kind of, what's the next kind of venture for Tubbercurry twinning?
In the short term, actually, for me, it's probably going to be to go over and to visit Bernard Marchand, who's a very good friend of the twinning, but quite poorly in health. He was supposed to come. He's going to be staying with Derek, but unfortunately, due to ill health, he can't come. So that'll be the next step. We'll go over and visit him.
You can send him the link to this now. He'll be able to listen to this and get ready for your visit.
Most Aprils, but are a good few years in April, there would be a group of students, a student exchange. They'd come from France, and there might be 14, 15, 16 students here, and they'd be here for up onto about a week. So that may be the next thing, maybe in April next year, and possibly a walking trip to France.
Very good.
And you're more than welcome yourself.
Absolutely. I'm kind of very envious of you at times that you kind of get to do these things. And like I said, it's not a holiday. It's literally an experience of culture, which is fantastic to see.
What I have found about it as well since the very beginning, I'm a long time round Tubbercurry, and I see people going up and down the street, and I speak to them and hello, how are you? And you don't really know them that well, or you might have you might think, well, something or other, whatever, but you meet them then on a weekend. If they decide to come to France and you're sitting beside them on the plane, and you're all weekend with them, you get to be quite, friendly with them, and you find out what they're about, and vice versa, and that works out well too. You get to know your neighbours.
Absolutely. And I think it's an Irish thing as well. Like we are known for being friendly and starting a chat with somebody.
I remember being in France. We were at Notre Dame Cathedral, and there were two ladies from Tubbercurry in our group, and they hadn't met, I think, for 9 months to a year until that morning at Notre Dame Cathedral.
Very good.
Even though they were about a mile from each other on the same road, they hadn't spoken. They'd wave to each other and hello, how are you, and that.
But they got the opportunity to chat.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks a million for coming in. It was a great pleasure to have you guys, and it was very interesting to hear about the twinning. I'm actually quite intrigued now. I kind of have to. I won't say I'm going to get involved because I'll be ended up putting my feet in it, but I do want to hear more about it over time. If there's anything else happening as well, we'd love to hear back from you guys as well.
We may have a job that you'd be able to.
Oh God! Oh, here we go.
Thank you very much.
If I can help, I will.
Thank you.
That's it for this week. Thank you to our guests for coming in, and as always, you can catch up on previous episodes on our Facebook and YouTube channel. And just look for South Sligo Talks. Make sure to like and subscribe and to get updates of new episodes like this episode. If you have any requests or you would like us to discuss anything, send us an email to southsligotalks@gmail.com. Thank you for watching South Sligo Talks.